Warmly welcome to this information meeting about cooperation with India. My name is Malin Petersen. I'm responsible for cooperation with India at Vinnova, the Swedish Innovation Agency. I would also like to invite you to join us in co-creation for innovation by joining our LinkedIn group, Sweden-India Innovation Initiative. You see the link at the bottom of this slide. In this group, you can stay updated on activities going on in Indo-Swedish cooperation. You can learn about upcoming networking activities as well as available funding. You may also use this group by posting information about your organization and what you're looking for in a partner organization. During today's meeting, you may also reach out to our speakers through this group. Now to the agenda of today. First, you'll learn of funding opportunities from the Department of Science and Technology and Vinnova, followed by guidance on intellectual property by the Swedish Intellectual Property Office and Renfrew & Sagar, India. Followed by information on Indo-Swedish research cooperation from the Swedish Foundation for International Cooperation in Research and Higher Education. Finally, you'll get an update on upcoming events by the Office of Science and Innovation, Business Sweden, and Vinnova. First out, we're starting with funding within circular economy, and I'm soon to hand over to Dr. Shadaram Sivaji, Director at the Indian Department of Science and Technology. And
thank you, Ms. Malin, for your very nice introduction to this very important cooperation between India and Sweden in the field of science and technology. And now, a little bit background I wish to give it to this August gathering, because we have been working with Sweden since the last few decades. And the cooperation is very stable and strong, and every year by year we are increasing number of events and activities. And lastly, I think this year in the beginning we had very good call launch on smart cities and artificial intelligence and Internet of Things and all those things, including clean technologies for the benefit of both Indian and Sweden scientific community. And now, as per the recommendations of the Joint Committee on Science and Technology between two countries, we are now about to launch a new type of call called circular economy. This has actually two basic parts. One focuses on exclusively on health sciences, and other one is sustainable development related activities. So understandably, I think the health sciences programs will be taken up by from the Indian side by the DBT, Department of Biotechnology, and the sustainable development related activities. It's a kind of broad subject, but we have very nice themes on this, and this will be taken up by the Department of Science and Technology. From on the other side, Vinnova will be the nodal agency for these two initiatives. I think we are very soon going to launch this new very interesting program for the scientific community. I hope all of you will participate very actively in this important theme call. And then we are here for addressing all your queries related to this proposed call. And let us see how it goes today's meeting.
thank you very much, Dr. Sivaji. And you said this is a new type of call, and it really is. We come together at 5 research and innovation funding agencies on the Swedish side. It's Formas, Forte, the Swedish Energy Agency, the Swedish Research Council, and Vinnova. And on the Indian side, DST, as well as DBT, Indian Department of Biotechnology. And by coming together in this way, we can support innovation and research projects that are full value chain research and innovation projects. So we hope to see you engaged in this funding opportunity coming up. And we're hoping to be able to share some more information already on the 26th of October during India-Sweden Innovation Day. You'll learn more about this event later on in this webcast. If you wish to pose questions to Dr. Sivaji, he is available in our LinkedIn group, so please join us there. Now we're moving on to EU funding and Dr. Nadine Schweizer, National Contact Point for Horizon Europe at Vinnova. Please.
And thank you for inviting me here. Nice to meet you all digitally here today. My name is Nadine Schweizer, and I'm the Swedish National Contact Point for Horizon Europe, Cluster 1 Health, as well as Cluster 6 Food, Bioeconomy, Natural Resources, Agriculture and Environment. And this actually connects nicely to the previous talk. I will give you a short glimpse of the contents and frameworks of Horizon Europe and in what way you can use the program to collaborate with Indian entities. Under the strategic priority called, now it's going a bit fast. There we go. Maybe the streaming agency could help me just move one slide at a time. Then I'll leave this app, I think. Under the strategic priority called the Global Approach to Research and Innovation, most Horizon Europe calls are open to participants from non-EU countries, regardless of their organization type or location, as long as those are legal entities in their country, so not natural persons. So that's a green light right there. There are some few exceptions, mainly in the areas of security and dual use applications. However, those are few. India is a so-called third country in respect to Horizon Europe. That simply means that India is not a member state of Europe and not formally associated to Horizon Europe. This does by no means prevent Indian entities from collaborating through Horizon Europe. In contrary, they generally have access to all calls, and collaboration with third countries are encouraged under the Global Approach to Research and Innovation. However, they're not automatically eligible for funding. That means that organizations from third countries will, in many cases, have to find their own funding for their actions in the consortium or contribute in kind. Many third countries, among them India, have earlier earmarked national funding for this under their own funding rules. So it can be well worth to get in touch with their national and regional funding agencies, authorities for research and education, or embassies to check if such funding is available for the call or topic you're interested in. The Indian Department for Science and Technology, who presented before me here today, as well as DBT, which has been mentioned earlier, for example, have earlier provided such funding under Horizon 2020. And there might very well be such mechanisms in place now or later for Horizon Europe. So let's have a look at what Horizon Europe can offer in the next slide. So Horizon Europe is structured into 3 pillars, as you can see here. Pillar 1, excellent science, contains much of the bottom-up funding for individual researchers, as well as possibilities for mobility and calls for research infrastructure use. This would, for instance, enable Indian researchers to join European research groups. Pillar 2, global challenges and industrial competitiveness, contains calls and topics for consortia that are aimed to tackle well-defined problems and present solutions. Usually the minimum requirements for such a consortium are 3 independent partners in 3 EU member states or associated countries. Additionally to this, any entities from member states, associated countries, or non-member states may be a partner. So connected to Pillar 2, you will find most opportunities to collaborate with Indian partners. Pillar 3, Innovative Europe, contains financial support for small and medium-sized enterprises. So in the next slide, we can see some current topics. There's 4 of them in the current work program for which cooperation with third countries is specifically indicated. For one of them, India is specifically mentioned as well. This topic is part of Cluster 2, Culture, Creativity and Inclusive Societies, and concerns collaborations regarding the Indian film industry. With that said, so those are only some examples where international cooperation with non-member states and non-associated third countries is specifically emphasized. I want to emphasize once more that generally third countries are invited to participate in consortia in any type of call, but will likely have to contribute in kind or with their own funding. So with the next slide, I already want to close. I want to close with encouraging you to get in touch if you're interested in Horizon Europe. We NCPs can inform you on which possibilities are available for you under the Horizon program. We can help you find answers to your questions. May they be topic related or of a legal and financial kind. And we can also help you to develop your strategy if you wish. I also added some useful links to the end of the presentation. You will receive this presentation after the talk, and you can check out those links if you wish. And you will find my contact details in the last slide. And of course, my colleague, Mrs. Malin Petersen, can always relay your questions to me as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Schweizer. And if you have registered for this meeting, we will email the presentations to you, and it will also be made available on our website. We move on to our next section on guidance concerning intellectual property. And first out is Miss Folin, Patent Examiner at the Swedish Intellectual Property Office. And if you wish to pose questions to Miss Folin, please go to www.menti.com and use the code 84 59 51 12. Miss Folin, over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me and PRV to this event. I will very shortly introduce you to intellectual property and intangible assets and what you have to be aware of when you go abroad. On the next slide, you will see some example of intangible assets. They come from the idea and the knowledge people in the company has developed. It can be trade secrets, business strategy, or partnership agreement, and you see more examples on this slide. These things are about 80% of your company's value. And then it's so big part of your company's value. It is very important that you, at an early stage, identify your company's assets. Think of how you will use them and how you want to protect them. And that's more important if you go into an international market where you have more competitors around you. If you don't know what kind of intangible assets you have in your company, you can do the test in the Spotlight that you can find on our webpage. You also see a red circle around 4 words. These words are intellectual property rights or IP rights. And as you can see, they are part of the intangible assets. IP rights is that part of the law that protect intangible assets. It is design, which is a pattern or a shape of a product. We have patents, a technical solution on a problem, an invention. Trademark, that's a way to identify your goods or your service, and it's the name or the logotype that's protected by a trademark. And these 3 IP rights can be protected by an application to us at PRV or another intellectual property office. The 4th one, copyright, is automatically protected as soon as you create something unique. It can be, for example, a unique text or music. It can be hard to make business with the idea and the knowledge you have. So IP right can be a tool to make business deal with the intangible assets you have in your company. Next slide, please. An IP right is an exclusive right that gives the holder or the creator the right to prevent others from using an intangible asset commercially. The development process could be time-consuming and costly, and that's why it's important that companies can get exclusive right to their product during a certain period. And during these years, the company has the opportunity to earn back the money which they have invested in research and development. It gives you a competitive advantage, a kind of monopoly. You can choose to let others use your right, give them a license to use it. You then agree with the other company how they may use it, and also including if they're going to pay any fee. It gives you the opportunity to give different conditions to different companies. IP right can also be sold, and then you get a one-time income. This strategy is good if you yourself do not have the interest or opportunity to use the assets in your company. As you can see, with the help of IP rights, you can control the use of the intangible assets. You are in the driver's seat. An IP right is an investment and must be handled as such from day one. You need to calculate a cost for writing the application, running the application process, and it also costs to maintain them. You need to have the financial measures to defend your IP right from infringement or litigation when a competitor wants to invalidate it. And if you want to have IP rights in more countries, the bill will naturally increase in size. Next slide, please. Before you go abroad with your product, you have to have a business strategy together with an IP strategy. If you do that, you have a better chance to succeed in your business. You have to be aware of that IP rights are territorial and have legal force in the country in which they have been granted. For example, if you have patent granted in Sweden, it has no effect in any other country except Sweden. And you should consider getting IP rights protection in the country where you operate, where you are producing, using or selling your product. You have to be aware of the law and procedure are not the same worldwide, and that there are deadlines for applying for an IP protection abroad. If you make your first application for design or patent, for example in Sweden, you must, with a certain period, apply in another country. Has that time lapsed? You can't apply in any other country and you won't get protection in any other country. You must also choose your name on your company, your product or service with care, so it works in the language where you do business. It should be easy to pronounce and easy to remember and has no adverse meaning. To know if your IP can be used and protected in another country is an important part of your strategy. You don't want to spend money developing and protecting IP if it turns out that already registered. And you don't want to export to a country where you may infringe someone's IP. You can do a database search to find out what is on the market, what is protected, and who is your competitors. And it is your responsibility to know what is protected in the country you go into. When you go abroad, more people will see your product or your service. So before it's too late, think of the intellectual property. If you don't have your product protected, maybe someone copy your product. So start by developing an international strategy, identify your market. If you haven't obtained a protection in a foreign market, competitors are free to use your patent, design, or trademark right. And have you done that, it's safer to enter a foreign market. You also need to know how the legal system works in the country where you're entering. Can you claim your right in the court? Protecting and managing IP abroad can be very complex, so seek help from an IP attorney who has lots of experience and know the law in the country where you act, and they also have a big network. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Folin. And if you wish to pose questions to Ms. Folin, please use our Menti code 84 59 51 12, and we will raise your questions during the webcast shortly. First, though, I'd like to introduce our second speaker on the topic of guidance concerning intellectual property. It's Mr. Pankaj Soni, partner at Renfrew & Sagar, India. Welcome, warmly welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, to Vinnova for having me here at the session today, and I look forward to spending the next few minutes just discussing briefly about intellectual property and intellectual property in India. And thank you to OSA for setting this up so well. I think that the amount of information she's given in those 10 minutes is actually very, very fabulous. Sort of picking up on on the issue of investment and strategy, I think the first, I wanted to talk about three fundamental points in the next 10 minutes. And then the first one was, sort of teed off of this point that Osa made. So we cannot look at intellectual property, from the perspective of hope. And I was fortunate enough to be in Stockholm a couple of years back, and then at the PRV, and then I picked up this notebook, and I found it so appropriate, and I think it is very reflective of what you need to do with respect to intellectual property, that actually have a strategy for it and not base it just out of hope. And when you talk to people, there'll be many strategies out there, but I wanted to share one that has worked with organizations that we have counseled, organizations that are starting to think about intellectual property, or organizations that are now sort of just coming into business and are growing and really need to know what to do. So it's a simple 3-step process that I usually tell people. Understand, identify, create. So you have to think about intellectual property from these 3 steps. And what I mean, and I'll go through each one of them, not in a lot of detail, because you could actually have a session just on this topic itself. So the first idea is to understand where you are, and sort of to going back to the point that Osa had said, that it's an investment. You have to decide where your company, how much money your company wants to to spend, what's the strategy that you need to have, where are you going to be looking for protection. Now, as an organization, that will happen if the top level associates sort of buy into that argument from the beginning. So it's very important to have your senior level, your CXO level suite sort of buy into the concept to talk about intellectual properties. Organizations where this happens at the top are the ones that are more successful in developing, protecting, and enforcing their intellectual property. The second thing is identify. So now, once you understand what is involved in setting up an IP strategy or an IP policy, understanding who your competitors are, what their strengths are, what is your core competence in terms of technology, you have to basically identify where you want to be. Are you a leader? Are you a market leader, or an innovator, or is it something that's new to you? So you're trying to understand the market, and then once you understand the market, you will be able to identify what your strategy is going forward. That's very important, because unless you know where you are and where you fit in, you will not be able to decide on the best way forward. And the final one is create. So once you've decided, the brainstorming policy perspective within the company is done, now you have to have a plan on how to cultivate and how to generate the intellectual property that's residing within your organization, and how to be able to protect it, to monetize it, and when required, to enforce it. And I've mentioned a couple of things, but there are several others that you can do, and some Osa had also mentioned in her presentation. But you should have an IP policy. There are tools, there are databases where you can search and you can find out what's happening out there in the world with respect to the technology that you're dealing with. Is your technology new? Can it be protected, etc.? So once you have all of that in place, you've got a sound beginning. Now, how does that fit in with India? Well, the one thing that I wanted to just, this slide talks about is why India? Why should you be considering India as a place to protect your intellectual property? One, because IP is jurisdictional. You can only get protection if you do something in that particular country. So for anybody who is doing business with India, who is thinking of doing business in India, who's got some development happening in India in terms of research and development, has some back office happening in India, potential customers in India, wherever your scenario may be, you need to think about India, because others are thinking about India. We're ranked 7th in terms of the IP patent filings, 6th in terms of trademark filings. India actually jumped up in the Global Innovation Index to 46th, and I think a few years back it was in the 80s. For anybody involved in information and communication technology, the ICT sector, India is a great market. It's ranked number 1 for export. So when I say export, you could be having an R&D facility in India that's actually generating this innovation that is being exported. And it has a good sort of human resource base. And the best part about India is the market size. So if it's a market that falls into what your potential market is in the future, India should be in sort of that decision-making process of where you want to protect your IP. The next slide is just to give you an idea of who's protecting. When I say who rather than organizations, which countries of origin are these intellectual property being protected in India? And as you will see, USA leads the market across all patent, trademark, and designs. And then it varies, but Japan and China is there in the top 5. Germany is there in terms of patents and trademarks. So there's a lot of innovation that's happening from outside. In India particularly, we have more innovation on the patent and the design side coming from outside. Actually, patent is very high, significantly high, coming from outside as being generated from within India. So that's something to keep in mind also, that we have a lot of people who are innovating outside in their home jurisdictions and then later on filing in India. So that was sort of just a snapshot to tell you, that you should have a strategy. India is a good place to think about because others are thinking about it. I wanted to leave you with this slide, which tells you that, which is fundamentally to tell you that India has a very well-functioning intellectual property office. It has, in the last 5 to 7 years, several steps have been taken to improve the efficiency and the functioning of the patent office. For example, you can now get a patent granted in 4 years or less in India, which is an improvement from the 9 years that it used to take at some point in time. And trademarks and designs are also very efficiently managed in India. There's one thing that I wanted to sort of point out specifically, and if you see there is that sub-bullet with a tick mark, it talks about obtaining foreign filing license. And I'll tie it slightly to the point that Åsa had made, that where you decide to file first. So India says, and many other countries also say that if the inventor is an Indian resident, you need to either first file in India or get a foreign filing license. So please keep that in mind when you're deciding on where to file and how to file. Again, I apologize. This is a lot of information, but this presentation is available to you. My contact should be available through Vinnova if anybody wants to reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I wish all of you the best of luck in the intellectual property strategies that you develop for your organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Soni. We really appreciate you taking part and joining our LinkedIn group too. We have received a question to Ms. Folin. It goes, can I make an IP right protection on my published paper on a specific method? Ms. Folin, over to you.
No, that depends what kind of method it is, actually. It's a technical method, yes, then you can have a patent. Is it a published paper? It's copyright. So it depends what kind.
Thank you, Ms. Folin, for a very clear answer. We have no further questions to Ms. Folin and Mr. Soni at this point, but they are available in the LinkedIn group during the course of the meeting in case you come to think of anything else. Thus, we move on to our next section. It's an overview of Indo-Swedish Research Cooperation, and it's Dr. Erik Forsberg who is sharing. He's representative in China and APAC for the Swedish Foundation for International Cooperation in Research and Higher Education. Please, Dr. Forsberg.
Thank you. Yes, it's a very long name. Right, so I will talk a little bit about scientific collaboration between Sweden and India. And I have 5 minutes. There's not much. It doesn't leave much room for a lot of details here. So I think this slide is perhaps the most important slide of my whole presentation. It's to say that last month, Stint published a batch of new country reports, 13 in total, one of which is about India. So everything I say here today, plus obviously a lot more, is available to read in this report, right? Which you can download from the Stint website for free. I can post a link to this in the LinkedIn group. Right? Now, in these presentations, all of them include the following table. It's actually longer than this, but I filtered out the non-Asian countries. I did keep Sweden and the US as a reference, right? So these are numbers that are based on publication data for the years 2015 up to, but not including 2020. So the last 5 years of the previous decade. And we can see there how much, looking at these numbers gives you a little bit of a snapshot on where these countries, how they stand in a sort of a global setting, right? And we can see that India published, on average during these years, about 165,000 scientific publications per year, which accounts to about 5.3% of the total global output. These numbers are growing at a fairly healthy clip at about 6.5% per year. And the measured quality, or the average measured quality of Indian research as measured by the field-weighted citation impact factor is slightly below the global average. Right? It's often inevitable to compare with China, which we can see here produces significantly more than India, and the growth of publications is also higher than India's. Right. This can probably be explained by India's, by international comparisons, fairly low spending of R&D. Right? Now, when it comes to collaboration with Sweden, India's collaboration intensity, how this is defined can be read in the report, is somewhat average, right? About 55%. So, But if we look at the growth of collaboration between Sweden and India, we do that by counting the number of co-publications. And you can see that from about 2004, the growth of collaboration between Sweden and India sort of sped up a bit, right? But we can still see that, you know, the total number of joint publications between Sweden and India is fairly low, right? You know, below 900 per year in 2019, right? We can look at which are the most popular subject areas, or the scientific disciplines in which Indian and Swedish scientists collaborate. Natural sciences dominate, followed by engineering and medical sciences. We can see that social sciences, humanities, and agricultural sciences are sort of underrepresented in the collaboration between Sweden and India, whereas natural sciences is overrepresented. And engineering and medicine is, you know, the number of co-publications is as roughly expected based on the publications in Sweden and India separately. The institutions that collaborate the most on the Swedish and Indian side are, on the Swedish side, it's these are the top 10 universities that has the most co-publications with India. All of them are also the top 10 institutions that publishes the most in Sweden, with the exception of Luleå University of Technology. Right? So the individual order of these ones vary a little bit, but by and large, it correlates very well with who publishes most in Sweden. On the Indian side, it's less clear cut. The top 10 institutions that collaborate with Sweden are neither necessarily the top ranked universities in India, nor necessarily the largest producers of scientific publications. The total numbers are quite small, so it's hard to draw any conclusions as to why that is. Right? We do have more detailed numbers on I clicked too far there, but anyway, we have more detailed numbers on the collaborations, right? So yeah, but I don't have really time to go into that, so I just move on to the last slide. Just to mention very briefly something about student mobility. Fairly good amount of Indian students come to Sweden to study, and it's a growing number, and it's by and large free moving students. However, the number of Swedish students going to India is very close to zero. Basically, no Swedish students go to India to study, which seems to be a shame. So I will stop there by saying just the following, that when it comes to scientific collaboration between Sweden and India, there is plenty of room for growth. Yeah, so read more about it in our report. I'll post a link for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Forsberg. You managed perfectly to summarize this report in only 5 minutes, so I'm impressed. Thank you very much. And Dr. Forsberg is available in our LinkedIn group in case you have questions for him. With that, we move on to our last section of today. Now you're going to get an update on upcoming events in Indo-Swedish cooperation. And first out is Dr. Per-Arne Wikström. He's our Science and Innovation Counselor at the Office of Science and Innovation at the Embassy of Sweden in New Delhi. Please, Per-Arne.
Okay, thank you, Malin. So I will just show you 2 slides, and I have two messages. Basically, the first one is about what you've already heard. I think that Eric summarized parts of it, and also our colleague from India who talked about patents did also display this. And that the first message that I want to talk about is I think well captured by this Pioneer the Possible sign that I show you here, is that India in many different ways is the place to be in at the moment. It's an economy that is growing. It's a country that really wants to collaborate with other countries. They're open to do that, and Sweden is one of the countries that are in a really good position to do a lot of good things. So in I think it was in March this year when Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Stefan Löfven they had this digital meeting talking about the Sweden-India Innovation Partnership, which is a beautiful, wonderful tool for us that work in India to use, because this partnership is something that was established a couple of years ago. I think it was in 2018, and it's very much alive. And when and Modi and Löfven met the last time, then in March in this year, they welcomed that Sweden-India Health Hub in Jodhpur had been established. They welcomed the Sweden's decision to join the International Solar Alliance. They welcomed calls within smart and sustainable cities, smart grids, digitalization, and the IoT within clean tech and other areas. And that was also something that Dr. Sivaji mentioned earlier on during this presentation. I think we see proof all the time of how this collaboration works, and we do have a really efficient platform to work from. So it's I would definitely argue that look into this partnership. You will find a lot of different fields that we cover: smart cities, smart industry, transportation, new materials, space, aeronautics, circular and bio-based economy, health and life sciences, and so on. So there are several different fields that we cover, and take the opportunity to log in or to be a part of this Pioneer the Possible work that we're doing. The second slide is actually based on what we are doing here at OSI. OSI stands for Office of Science and Innovation. That's my office here in New Delhi. And I decided that I would show you this international document just in order to show you what kind of questions can we help you with. So we have both innovation and business related activities that we can support between Sweden and India. We also have the science and the business sector where we can support you. You've got my name and address down below there, this figure. So, and as I said, we have the Sweden-India Innovation Partnership. That's the foundation. We work very closely with Team Sweden. You'll meet Cecilia soon from Business Sweden. We work very closely. We're looking into all different possible collaboration areas. I will just finally, a couple of seconds here, mention that we have events during the whole year. Of course, we have now coming up Sweden-India Match Day on the 12th of October. We have the India-Sweden Innovation Day on the 26th of October. And then we have events where Sweden and Indian companies, organizations meet 2 times every month, I would say. A lot of activities. Please contact me if you want to know more, and I will also keep you updated on the things that might be of interest for you. So my final words would be to be part of this, to pioneer the possibilities between Sweden and India, and we can help you in doing that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dr. Wikström. I appreciate it. Then we move on to our next speaker in this section. It's Miss Cecilia Oskarsson, Trade Commissioner at Business Sweden India. Please, Cecilia.
Thank you very much, Malin, and welcome to this session. I will just quickly talk about what's important for us and what we do within the innovation sphere here in India. So if we move to the next slide, these are the next one again. Yes, thank you very much. So we do a lot of things at Business Sweden in India. And as Per-Arne just said, we also work together with the Team Sweden in many of those. But these are some of the key initiatives that we do. And what I show you here are our 3 most important platforms. The first one, the India-Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center. That is penetration in healthcare. And this is a collaboration between the governmental-run hospital AIIMS Delhi and AIIMS Jodhpur and Business Sweden. A couple of years back, an MOU was signed between India and Sweden in healthcare. So this is definitely a country-level initiative. And here, by connecting startups and technology, we develop best-in-class processes, but also skills. The next one I would like to talk about is the India-Sweden Innovation Accelerator. This is a very high level of innovation on agenda. Here we work in 5 different sectors: energy, power, IoT, resources, and water. Up till now, more than 55 Swedish companies have been introduced to India. The last one I want to talk about is Sustainability by Sweden Showroom, which is a collaboration between Business Sweden and the Swedish Energy Agency, where we showcase many different Swedish innovations in energy field. This is being showcased both on the governmental level, but also to private sector. So if we move over to the last and next slide, which is our partnership. We work with specific companies and connect them to startups. And through that, we make sure that the companies can actually follow their long-term goals. One example is the AstraZeneca BioVenture Hub. Another one would be the Mobility X Lab here in India, where 5 different Swedish companies are involved. Both of these have more than 50 startups reaching out to us. And for the AstraZeneca one, we right now have 2 ongoing discussions with 2 startups. I know we're talking about India here, but I just want to mention our collaboration in the US with the ABB as well. So as you can see, we have quite a lot going on in India, and you've heard about that the whole day, I think. And again, for us at Business Sweden, we are open to any kind of collaboration. So if you are interested in anything that we have talked about today, let us know, and we are happy to take you on board. Thank you so much, Malin.
Thank you very much, Ms. Oskarsson. Lastly, we turn to me to share some information about the upcoming events too. And these events are not solemnly organized by Vinnova. Vinnova might be involved, but it's a mixture of organizers. India-Sweden Innovation Day. Don't miss out on this yearly event. It always gathers a lot of central actors in Indo-Swedish cooperation. And this year's meeting is taking place on the 26th of October. And the focus this year is on accelerating India and Sweden's green transition. We also have Sweden-India AI and Digitalization Summit taking place on the 17th of November. It's a hybrid event, and you will get more information shortly, for example, in our LinkedIn group. Yet another event is Sweden Innovation Days. This is a large global conference, a hybrid conference, mainly digital though, taking place during the World Expo, the 17th to 20th of January 2022, next year, that is. And please follow the link at the bottom here to find more information and register. And feel free to share information about this event in your network, and please do let us know in case you want to be actively engaged in the program somehow. During this event, we offer a platform for digital meetings, including workshops, fireside chats, networking, knowledge sharing, matchmaking sessions, as well as practical information about upcoming networking and funding opportunities. And day one focus on missions to achieve the global goals, the SDGs. And we will explore how a mission-oriented approach allows complex issues to be broken down into pragmatic steps towards effective change. The days after focus on preventive health and well-being, followed by co-creation for innovation and climate neutral cities. So I hope you find something there that interests you. And if you are a startup, please sign up for matchmaking if you wish to be matched with an Indian company. The application, it's open for, you can apply until the, let me see, 14th of November. So please apply now if in case you're interested in taking part in this matchmaking. And this matchmaking too is focusing on the SDGs. All right, so we're approaching the end of this meeting. Our next information meeting on cooperation with India takes place on the 17th of March. And in case you wish to give input to our next meeting, please fill in our survey. Today's focus on IP rights was based on input from our previous survey. So please use the last minutes here of this meeting to fill in our survey and let us know what interests you. All right. Thank you very much for listening in. I hope you have enjoyed this meeting. And of course, special thanks to our distinguished guests. They're still available in the LinkedIn group in case you have questions or wish to follow up in any way. I hope to see you all at all the upcoming events taking place within Indo-Swedish cooperation. And please take care. See you soon.